Karan, it makes sense. Karan, Karan or Damni, whoever is there. Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Any questions from what we discussed yesterday? Any questions from what we discussed yesterday?
No, sir.
So yesterday we discussed about joint venture, merger, acquisition, hostile acquisition. So no queries in that, correct? Okay.
Yeah, sir. Good evening. No queries. Thank you.
Okay. Now, so generally when we're looking at M&A, there are two underlying principles on which it works. One is a top line and second is a bottom line. So let's understand what is top line. Top line is the sales revenue. So which means when your intent of acquiring a company or merging with someone is primarily driven by increasing the sales, that's called as top line principle of M&A. And when so suppose I understand when you have so top line is cost is your sales, because when you prepare a P&L, the first item that comes in the P&L is your sales. So that's why it's called as top line approach. And then at the end of the P&L is your PAT, profit after tax, and that's why it's called as bottom line approach. So when the objective or the primary objective of M&A is to increase your market share, is to increase your sales, or is to increase the revenue, then it is approach. But where the objective of M&A is primarily to increase the profit or reduce some cost, because if you reduce some cost, your profit will go up. Those are strategies or intent behind M&A, and these are called as bottom line approach. So let me explain this through an example. So for example, my sales is 100 rupees and my cost is, let's assume, 60 rupees. So my profit, and suppose your tax is, let's assume, 10 rupees. So your profit after tax, PAT, is nothing but the 100 minus 60 minus 10, 30 rupees. Now, suppose when you're acquiring a company and the objective of acquiring a company is to increase this number, then this is called as top line approach. Any doubt in this? So for example, Vodafone acquiring Hutch. The objective was pretty clear that they wanted to enter into Indian markets and wanted to increase their market share, and they have their customers in India as well. So उससे क्या होगा? उससे उनका sales increase होगा. Of course, down the line after increasing the sales, it will start showing an impact in the increase in profit as well. So which is obvious, but the primary objective was to increase sales. Hence, that's a top line approach. Is this clear to everyone? Top line, just one.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir, clear.
Uh, if the objective of the so suppose if the objective of the M&A is, let's assume, to decrease the cost, be it this cost or be it a tax. So what will happen? Your sales will still remain flat, but your cost will come down. As a result, your profit will move up. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
So if you're doing these kind of an acquisitions, these are called as bottom line approach, where your primary objective is focus on the profit primarily rather than on the sales. So for example, if company A acquires a loss making company, a shutdown company, जो company बंद हो चुकी है, उसका कोई sales नहीं है. So if I'm acquiring a shutdown company, that shutdown company doesn't have any sales, hence it can't be my top line approach, because even if I acquire a closed company, my sales will not go up. But if I acquire a closed company, because of which the losses of that company will help me to reduce my taxes, बिकॉज आप जो लॉसेस होते हैं उसको कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर सकते हो. ये कराऊंगा बाद में जब कैलकुलेशन आएगा. सो अभी के लिए अगर एक क्लोज शटडाउन कंपनी है, लॉस मेकिंग कंपनी है, तो उसको एक्वायर करके अपने लॉसेस, खुद के लॉसेस को कम कर सकते हो. एंड इफ यू डू दैट, then it's nothing but an example of a bottom line approach. Any doubt on this slide?
Sir, sorry to disturb. Sir, top line is जो company shut down हो गई है, that is top line. The approach is to increase the sales because the sales are zero at that point in time. Sir, bottom line एक बारी please बता दो.
Bottom line है where your objective is to reduce the cost.
Okay, be it the cost or the tax.
Yeah, so tax is also kind of in cost only, correct?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी. Okay, sir.
सो अगर आप इस एक्सेल में देखोगे, इस एक्सेल से क्लियर होगा. सो अगर आप ये जो कॉस्ट एंड टैक्स है इसको कम करने के लिए कुछ करते हो, तो वो आपका बॉटम लाइन अप्रोच रहता है. बिकॉज व्हाट विल हैपन, योर सेल्स स्टिल रिमेन्स फ्लैट, your cost goes down, hence your profit goes up. इसलिए इसको बॉटम लाइन अप्रोच बोलते हैं, बिकॉज वो आपके लास्ट आइटम को इम्पैक्ट करता है, बॉटम को इम्पैक्ट करता है. एंड व्हेन योर ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू इंक्रीज द सेल्स, ऑफ कोर्स व्हेन यू इंक्रीज द सेल्स उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा, उसका इम्पैक्ट ये भी होगा, बट प्राइमरी इम्पैक्ट ये होता है. तो इसको टॉप लाइन अप्रोच बोलते हैं, बिकॉज उसका फर्स्ट इम्पैक्ट टॉप लाइन पे पड़ता है. भावेश क्लियर?
हाँ जी सर, क्लियर है.
हाँ जी, किसी और कोई डाउट?
Sir, one question I had. In this bottom line approach, when we just acquire the loss-making company, the cost automatically go down.
It automatically does not go down. There is a mechanism and a calculation through which it goes down. So that calculation mechanism we will do later when we get to the calculation of the accumulated losses. It's not that by default it will go down. Calculation you have to apply for certain exemption, and then you are then you are able to decrease your tax. But let's assume
Okay,
your
thank you.
intent of acquiring a company, your intent of acquiring a company is your intent of acquiring a loss-making company is that you want to save your tax, and you are capable of doing those adjustments, which is legally allowed. Illegal नहीं है ये. तो अब आप बताओ ना, आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव, so suppose you are company है आकांक्षा, and I have a company, ठीक है? सपोज अब मैं उस कंपनी में इंटरेस्टेड नहीं हूँ, लॉस मेकिंग कंपनी है, मैंने बंद कर दी है. अब आप उसको खरीद रहे हो, तो आपको बहुत आसानी से पता है ये खरीदने के बाद आपका प्रॉफिट, आपका सेल्स तो बढ़ने नहीं वाला, आकांक्षा.
Yes.
ठीक है, बट यू स्टिल एक्वायरिंग द कंपनी. व्हाट कुड बी द ऑब्जेक्टिव? द ऑब्जेक्टिव इन दैट केस वुड बी नथिंग बट what the objective would be
Set of
that
losses.
okay, that by acquiring this you would be able to save some tax. Akansha there?
Yes, sir.
So in that case, if you do that, then your objective is pretty much on the bottom line, not on the top line. So that's why those kind of transactions are called as bottom line transactions.
Okay.
Akansha, is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And anybody else, any other doubt in this? Is everybody clear with this top line and bottom line concept?
Yes, sir.
Clear sir.
Now, when you look at the cycles, so we'll come back to this slide later. Okay, so we'll come back to these two slides probably later. So yeah, now one of the primary objective of getting into these M&A is a concept called as synergy. Now let's understand what do you mean by concept of synergy. Synergy means 1 plus 1 is more than 2. I repeat, synergy means 1 plus 1 is more than 2. So which means, so suppose if you're company A and company A is making a profit of 100 rupees, or let's assume sales of 100 rupees, and there's a company B, and if you acquire company B, so both the companies individually has a sales of 100 each. If I merge these two companies after merger, the sales after merger should be more than 200, because if after merger, if the sales comes out to be exactly 200, then there's no point of, then you have not got a success, because technically you've done nothing, but you've just done a summation of the sales of two companies, which means there is no synergy concept coming in. The synergy concept would mean there has to be a benefit, and that benefit has to be something which is more than a mathematical summation. Is this clear to everyone? Any doubt in what we mean by synergy concept?
Yes, sir. But sir, can you give in any real life example?
Yeah. So the examples would be, so for example, I'm company A, or let's take an example of the couple of mergers that we discussed yesterday. So Maruti and Suzuki example लेते हैं. So Suzuki ने, let's assume, $1 lakh लगाए to build a technology. Now for Maruti to build that same technology, Maruti again has to spend that $1 lakh and probably same amount of time. But if Maruti and Suzuki, and whereas Suzuki probably to build the network into the Indian markets probably have to spend 3-4 years to build that reputation and brand in the Indian markets. और उसको खर्चा भी करना पड़ेगा, correct? But what happens when they come together? Suzuki is able to leverage on the strength of the Maruti, and whereas Maruti is able to leverage on the strength of the Suzuki, and that's the reason they will save on these costs. So Maruti will save on the cost of again incurring that amount for building the technology, which has already been built by has been spent by the Suzuki, whereas Suzuki will save on the cost of incurring in building the brand or the reputation into Indian market, which has already been done by the Maruti. So they will save on these costs, but at the same time, उनके sales कम नहीं होंगे, sales increase होंगे. So sales will go up, cost will come down, hence the profit will go up. That's what the synergy impact is. Let me give another example to this. So we discussed yesterday ICICI Bank and Bank of Madurai, and then I think somebody in your batch also raised about Union Bank and Andhra Bank. So what's the objective of doing this? So let's assume ICICI Bank की एक सिटी में 3 ब्रांचेस हैं, और उसी सेम प्लेस पे बैंक ऑफ मदुरई की भी 3 ब्रांचेस हैं, सेम प्लेस पे, just opposite. So now technically there are 2 rentals that each of the bank is paying. ICICI Bank is paying a rental for its own branch, and Bank of Madurai is paying a rent for its own branch. ठीक है, अभी 10 कस्टमर एक ब्रांच में आते हैं, आईसीआईसीआई कस्टमर्स आईसीआईसीआई ब्रांच में आते हैं, और बैंक ऑफ मदुरई के कस्टमर्स बैंक ऑफ मदुरई के ब्रांच में आते होंगे. So when these two companies will merge, when they got merged, आईसीआईसीआई ने एक ब्रांच बंद कर दी क्योंकि वो दोनों ब्रांचेस आमने सामने थी. इसका मतलब ये ही है कि कॉस्ट कम हो गई रेंट की, जो 2 रेंट जा रहे थे वो 1 रेंट जाएगा. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि कस्टमर्स कम हो गए, बिकॉज जो कस्टमर्स ICICI branch में आ रहे थे वो अभी भी ICICI branch में आएंगे, and the customers earlier which were coming into the branch of Bank of Madurai will now step into the branch of ICICI, which means your sales still remain same, but your cost comes down, hence your profit will move up. That's called as synergy.
Clear,
Is this clear?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any doubt in this?
Sir,
Yeah.
गुड इवनिंग सर. सर मुझको बस ये जानना था कि सिनर्जी को क्वांटिफाई कैसे करते हैं. मींस 2 फर्म या 2 कंपनी जो मर्ज हो रही हैं, तो उसमें इसको कैसे क्वांटिफाई करेंगे कि हाँ सिनर्जी, इसका सिनर्जी ज्यादा है या इस मर्जर का सिनर्जी ज्यादा है एज कंपेयर टू अगर वो किसी दूसरी कंपनी को एक्वायर करेंगे.
So for example, company A का sales, if company A का sales पहले 100 था, और सेल्स छोड़ो प्रॉफिट की बात करते हैं, अगर कंपनी A का प्रॉफिट पहले 100 था और कंपनी बी का प्रॉफिट पहले 50 था, आफ्टर मर्जर टोटल प्रॉफिट अगर 160 आ रहा है, तो सिंपल है ना कि सिनर्जी 10 रुपीज का है। हेलो
हेलो, ये सर, ये
या
ये तो बस एक प्रॉफिट प्रोस्पेक्टिव पे हुआ। जैसे तो हम लोग बस कैलकुलेशन, सिनर्जी का कैलकुलेशन बस प्रॉफिट पे करते हैं कि कोई और पैरामीटर भी है उसका मेजरमेंट?
सी प्रॉफिट पे इम्पैक्ट आएगा इसका मतलब किसी और पैरामीटर से आया होगा ना। फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया, द एग्जांपल दैट आई गिव यू, सो उसका जो इम्पैक्ट है, जो उसका फर्स्ट इम्पैक्ट है, वो तो उसके रेंटल पे पड़ा होगा ना, कॉस्ट पे, बिकॉज योर
एग्जैक्टली।
रेंटल्स वुड हैव gone down, hence your profit is going up ना। So nothing will impact directly to the profit, correct? For profit to get impacted, first your sales or any other cost has to get impacted, and then profit will get impacted.
Nishant, I have a question.
Perfect. Okay, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, does synergy always have to be quantified, or can it be expressed in terms of qualitative factors as well?
It can be qualitative as well, especially to start with, and when you have a vision. But after some time or in the long run, the synergy has to show its effect. Then only your investors will get convinced, correct?
Right.
I agree. At the beginning, when you have a vision, okay, let me acquire company A, this will happen, this will happen. So at the start, you might not always have a quantified number to show to your investors or to your board to convince about the synergy effect. But they will give some time, okay, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. But उसके बाद कहीं ना कहीं तो आपको उनको quantified impact दिखाना पड़ेगा ना performance में.
Yes.
So that's where it is. So what happens in most of the time, the board of directors or the management of the company, when they start and set the vision might not have that quantified synergy effect. It can be more of a subjective assessment or their experience or their gut feeling.
Yeah.
But if in the future, after a defined period of time or whatever is being agreed, if that vision or that subjective assessment doesn't show the impact on the P&L or in some form of quantified performance, then that's where the investor starts getting a little frustrated and they believe कि शायद गलत हो गया है मैंने. Same with the Tata Steel, correct? So Tata Steel और Chorus का कल हमने example दिया. So Tata Steel is still bleeding. As I told you yesterday, it was one of the hostile acquisitions. So काफी high premium पे acquire किया था. In fact, इस presentation में Tata Chorus का case study भी है. Those who are interested in reading, they can read that. So still the management of the Tata at that point of time believed that this will have an positive impact, but अभी तक वो impact performance quantified for performance में नहीं दिखा है उनको, and that's the reason why some of the shareholders, in fact not some, most of the shareholders have now probably got frustrated, and that's why the share price has gone down. So that's the way it is. अगर आप shareholders को satisfy नहीं कर पाते तो after some point of time they will exit from your company, correct? They will sell off the share, and selling of the share will result in decrease of the price.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I.
हेलो सर. सर जब एक्विजिशन के टाइम पे मैनेजमेंट गाइडेंस देती है कि वो क्वांटिफाइड अमाउंट आते हैं कि इतना अमाउंट का सिनर्जी होगा, दे आर एंटिसिपेटिंग, मतलब जितना भी सिनर्जी वो एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. तो उसमें जो अगर डिटेल में अगर देखा जाए तो वो फॉर्मूला यूज करते हैं नेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ द न्यूली क्रिएटेड कंपनी प्लस प्रीमियम. तो सर इसमें जो नेट एनपीवी निकालते हैं वो सेल्स फिगर का एनपीवी निकालते हैं, प्रॉफिट का निकालते हैं, किस चीज का एनपीवी होता है
वो वैल्यू का एनपीवी होता है, वैल्यू ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन.
ओके. सो जो कंबाइंड एंटिटी का एनपीवी होता है वो उसका वैल्यू और जो प्रीमियम ऐड होता है वो सिनर्जी होता है.
प्रीमियम ऐड नहीं होता, प्रीमियम माइनस होता है.
अच्छा, एक बार इसको आप कोई एग्जांपल से समझा सकते हो?
एग्जाम्पल ही तो दिया. एग्जाम्पल मीन्स यू टॉकिंग अबाउट मैथमेटिकल फॉर्मूला.
मतलब सॉर्ट ऑफ जो मैनेजमेंट गाइडेंस में जैसे प्रेजेंटेड होता है वो आती है, गाइडेंस आती है एक्विजिशन के बाद।
हाँ तो वो करेंगे ना, तो मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन तो मैं अभी करा ही नहीं, मैं तो कॉन्सेप्ट बता रहा हूँ। सो वंस वी एग्री ऑन अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट, देन वो जो कैलकुलेशन होती है वैल्यूएशन की कैसे होती है वो लेवल 2 में करेंगे ना हम लोग।
अच्छा
Hello, sir. Actually, I'm not getting these questions. जो भी मतलब ये लोग पूछ रहे हैं, so is it like necessary to understand these quantifying and quality terms right now?
So whatever I am saying, you need to understand. The question that Sahir or somebody else is asking, if you don't understand unless I tell you to understand, it's not required.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Because most of these stuff जो साहिल ने भी पूछे is lined up later into the program. So this is anyways not the right time to understand these, because we have, in fact, I've not started those calculations as well. What Sahil was asking is about the calculation piece, that how do we calculate this synergy, and he was talking about NPV and so off stuff like this. So वो मैंने भी कराया नहीं है. So we will go to those topics, but not now, probably in the level 2 of this journey. So hence it's okay, if you don't understand those questions, provided but you understand what I explain you, what do you mean by synergy concept.
हाँ जी sir, वो clear है, ठीक है.
Anybody else before I go into more examples of synergy and more specific strategies of synergies? Okay, so some of the specific examples of synergy is staff reduction. The list which is mentioned on your screen. So for example, I have two organizations. Okay, so currently दोनों की sales 100 rupees है, दोनों का एक sales head है. So when I merge, I will not need two sales head, correct? I will still need one sales head, correct? So one person has to go out, which means the company will save on the cost, but still the sales will remain same. Guys, you're with me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's an example of the staff reduction.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Similarly, when you merge, generally HR team, HR department, marketing department, some of these departments which are required, but you don't need to have a very big setup for these stuffs. So अगर दो organization merge हो रही है and now I have two HR departments, I don't need to keep two. So I will keep one, and people from the other team will be asked to leave. Hence, I will save on the cost, but the other business remains as usual.
Right, sir.
That's an example of the staff reduction. Any doubt, question on staff reduction before I move on?
Yes, sir. It is self-explanatory. Thank you.
Okay. So next example is a competition elimination. So for example, company A and B, both are competitors to each other. Both are competitors to each other. So they compete. They compete in form of advertisement. They compete in terms of price wars. They compete in terms of the market share. पर जब वो दोनों एक्वायर हो जाएंगे, सॉरी, जब वो दोनों मर्ज हो जाएंगे और एक ही कंपनी बन जाएंगे, ठीक है, so they don't need to spend the cost in fighting with against each other, correct? Advertisement नहीं करना पड़ेगा, कम करना पड़ेगा, discounts कम देने पड़ेंगे, because now they have become one company, correct? So at least they don't need to fight among themselves. They still will be competing with the other people, but at least to that extent the cost and effort will go down, and that's what this competition elimination means. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Next is your economies of scale. Do you understand what do you mean by economies of scale? It's an economic concept. Anybody? What do you mean by economies of scale?
So can I try?
Yeah.
So economies of scale happen when production is so large that you are able to control over the cost.
So you're producing in large quantity, hence your cost per unit
goes down.
Yes.
Okay, very similar to what China model used to be. Okay, now similarly, so suppose your organization A and you're producing 100 units, correct? For you to have economies of scale, you need, let's assume, 150 units, but आपकी production ही 100 units की होती है, so you will not have economies of scale. Similarly, company B has 100 units, उसको भी economies of scale achieve करने के लिए 150 चाहिए. So they individually are not able to have economies of scale, but when they merge together, the total production size would be 200. Hence, they would be able to achieve economies of scale. Any doubt? Guys?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Can anybody give me an example or the source of this economies of scale? So, for example, in my example, I told you that if two companies A and B get merged, they will be able to achieve economies of scale. Any idea of any specific example or source from where this exactly will come in? कहाँ से आएगा? अगर वही सेम प्रोडक्शन सेटअप पहले जैसा ही है दोनों कंपनीज का, उन दोनों को साथ में लाने से कैसे इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल होगा? मैथमेटिकल नंबर्स कैसे चेंज होंगे? Anybody wants to try this?
Sir, your contribution will increase, so your break even will achieve higher at a lower, output levels, and for the rest of the output level, everything above the contribution is your income.
अरे बट ये तो मैंने बता ही दिया ना साहिल, मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ ये कैसे होता है? जो मैंने समझाया उसको आप मैथमेटिकल फॉर्म में समझा रहे हो बस, मैं वो नहीं पूछ रहा, मैं पूछ रहा हूँ हाउ डज इट हैपन? Why does the contribution increase? From where the incremental contribution comes in?
सर अगर हम लोग प्रोडक्शन की बात करें सर, तो प्रोडक्शन में जो हम लोग बल्क परचेज करते हैं,
करेक्ट,
इन दैट बल्क परचेज हम लोगों को मार्जिन काफी वेरी कर सकते हैं.
करेक्ट. फॉर एग्जांपल
वहां पे हम लोग इकोनॉमिक ऑफ स्केल.
Correct, Anthony, you're right. So, for example, I'm company A, or let's assume Anjani is the supplier of my raw material. So, मैं company A हूँ, मैं अंजनी के पास गया, मैंने कहा अंजनी ये मुझे raw material चाहिए. अंजनी ने कहा this raw material is 10 rupees per unit. मैंने कहा discount दो ना मेरे को. So Anjani says, हाँ, I can give you a discount, but you need to buy 150 units in a year. I said, no, I will buy 100 units. So Anjani says, if you buy 100 units, I cannot give you a discount because my transportation cost, my transportation cost for shipping 100 units is high. So, for example, you would have seen in Amazon, Flipkart, correct? If you place an order of, let's assume 600 rupees, 700 rupees, so it gives you a charge of a delivery charge. But if you place a bulk order, so suppose 1,000 rupees, I'm not sure what's the limit on Amazon, but if I recollect correctly, for somewhere 1,000 or 1,500, something like this. If you place an order beyond that, then you don't have to pay the delivery charges. Similar thing, Anjali says to me that if Dishant, you place an order of at least 150 units in a year, I would give you discount because I will not then charge you the extra transportation costs and stuff like this. But I said, yeah, I don't have a production of so much in a year. My total quantity production is 100 units, so I have no choice but to pay that extra cost to Anjali. Similarly, if I have a company B who also is facing same problem, but when I merge together, both the companies now has become one company. Hence, they are able to put a combined order to Anjani, and the total combined order to Anjani this time would be 200 units, which means Anjani would be able to pass on those discounts to me. And when those discounts will be given to me, my costs of producing those goods will go down, hence resulting in economies of scale. Is it right, Anjani? Have I captured your example correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, is that clear, everyone? Economies of scale, what it is and from where does it come in? Guys, you need to respond. Is this clear, economies of scale?
Yes.
Clear to me.
Okay.
Hello?
The next is yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, Isha.
Sir, I'm still confused. Like, I'm not getting exactly.
Go ahead. क्या नहीं समझ आया आपको?
So, like, what exactly economies of scale is? Like, I'm not getting it.
अच्छा, इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल क्या होता है ईशा? मैंने अभी बताया, तो व्हाट इज इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल?
मुझे बस इतना समझ में आया है, लाइक सपोज A's production is 100 and B's production is 100. So individually they are not able to like reach that economies of scale that is suppose 150. And if both of them come together and they will produce 200 units, then they will be able to like reach that economies of scale. That's
Correct.
what I got.
Correct. So you're right till this point. Now the next point, the next part that I explained, how they
Hmm.
how they get this advantage, or where, from what source exactly they get this advantage. So now,
Hmm.
so as you know, if you place a bulk order, the supplier generally gives you discount, correct?
Yes.
So now, if company A is placing an order to its supplier, assuming that supplier is Anjani, and so the company is
Hmm.
placing an order to Anjani 100 units, and company B is also placing another order which is 100 units. So Anjani दोनों में से किसी को discount नहीं देता, because they both are giving very small order of 100 each. But when these two companies merge, now they will be giving a one combined order of how much? 200 units.
Yes.
So now Anjani will give the discount.
Yes.
So that discount will result in what? Same amount of sales, but the cost of production will go down.
Yes. Sir.
Hence the profit will go up.
Yes.
Isha,
Yes, sir. Yes.
is that clear?
Yeah.
Sure. You're not sounding it's still so confident.
I got it, but still I'm not able to explain it to anybody else like this. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, you don't need to be sorry. I don't not sure why you're saying sorry. You don't need to be sorry. So you're saying कि आपको समझ आ गया है. That's what you said, right? You understood it.
Yeah, I understood it, but if I need to explain it to anybody else, then I'm not able to explain it.
Okay, which is not a problem. So we can work around that piece also. So let's do this way.
Yeah.
Do one task for yourself. On a
Yeah.
piece of paper after the class.
Yes.
Okay, just answer. Just write the answer for two questions. First, what is economies of scale?
Yes.
And second, create an example on that piece of paper. Write an example explaining from where the economies of scale comes in, and take the same example that I explained it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't need to explain it to anybody. You just need to write your thought or your understanding on that piece of paper.
Okay.
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 Once you do that, read that piece of paper and see have you captured your thought correctly or not.
Hmm.
Once you do that, then ask yourself, will you be able to now explain to somebody else or not? And then मुझे फिर next class में बता.
Sure.
ठीक है, चलिए. Anything else, guys? Before I move to the next point, economies of scale. Any question? Any queries? Okay. So next is your acquiring new technologies. I think this is the same example that I gave you, Maruti Suzuki. So when Maruti got this offer from Suzuki, of course the intent of the Maruti was pretty clear, because they will get an access to the new technology, and which does what? Which saves a lot of time and the cost for Maruti to build the technology, which has already been built by the Suzuki over the years, and they've incurred a huge amount on that R&D to build that technology. So वो बच जाता, you are able to take an advantage of that expertise and those technology that has been already being built, and which is again gives you synergy effect. Any doubt on this?
Yes, sir, it's easy.
Okay. Next is improved market reach. Again, this is the example that we discussed yesterday. ICICI Bank acquiring Bank of Madurai, or the example, the other
Vistara.
bank's example that we discussed yesterday.
Vistara could also
Union
be an
Bank
example.
acquiring an Andhra Bank, where the intent of the Union Bank was to just get a more market reach. Okay, so if suppose Union Bank has to go to certain part of the countries and has to open the branches from the scratch and then hire the people and then start building their customer base, it will take a hell lot of money and probably more time as well. So the company is able to save that entire cost and effort by merging or taking over the new bank, which is by taking over the another bank which is already of a decent size and scale into those locations. So those are examples of market reach. Another example of the market reach that we discussed yesterday, Tata acquiring Chorus. The intent for Tata to acquire Chorus was primarily on this. They wanted to enter into UK markets because Tata Steel didn't have any presence and visibility into UK markets. So by acquiring Chorus, they were able to get that reach. Another example that we discussed yesterday is Vodafone. Vodafone did not have any market reach in Indian market. They were not even allowed to enter into Indian markets at that time because they were the TRAI, which is the regulator. Hello?
Sir.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
the example that I'm discussing is the Hutch and the Vodafone. So Vodafone was not allowed to enter into Indian market. So they were able to increase their market reach by acquiring the Hutch. So these are the examples of synergies on the market reach. Any doubt, any questions on this? Any question, guys?
No, sir.
Sir, what is industry visibility?
Industry visibility.
Okay,
So
ठीक है, sir.
industry visibility is about your branding. For example, Tata. So Tata Steel was a relatively a smaller company into the steel industry across the globe. But the moment they acquired Chorus, they become very big in the size, and hence internationally they were now the international companies, international investors now can recognize, because the Chorus being an international company and very big in the size, you are now able to get a more visibility into the international markets. That's what it means, visibility. Similarly, let's Maruti Suzuki. Maruti, if probably would not have merged with Suzuki, they probably would not have got the same visibility what they have today, because they have an association with the Suzuki.
Okay.
Similarly, if Suzuki wants to enter into Indian markets, us waqt we Indians were more, had a more comfort and reliability with a brand called Maruti. So agar Suzuki us waqt India mein aata, so probably for them it would take years to build that visibility and reputation with the Indian markets and Indian customers. But because they came through already a trusted brand called Maruti, they got this visibility on the platter.
Exactly, sir. These 2 points, sir, market reach and industry visibility, it's kind of like, same.
Yeah, interrelated.
Exactly, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any doubt on any of these points, guys? Okay. Now, what I want from you. So these are not the exhaustive list. These are few examples for sake of our discussion. But now what I want you to think of more examples of synergy. So I'm giving you 2-3 minutes. So I want individually each of you to give me at least 2 examples of more synergy. 2 more examples of synergy, apart from what is already mentioned on the screen. Is that clear to everyone? Kya karna hai aapko? So I need you to think of more examples, at least 2 examples of synergy other than what's already we have discussed or what's being mentioned on the screen. Okay, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Sochi. Yeah. So yeah, anybody wants to go first? More examples of synergy other than what's been discussed.
Sir, Hero Honda, it could be one.
No, give me specific, correct? Hero Honda, which synergy and how and so on. You need to give me a specific.
Okay, sir, I think out of these 5 points, acquiring new technology and the last point, you know, these 2 points get fixed in this merger of Hero Honda.
तो वो तो डिस्कस कर लिया ना हमने. So technology we have discussed, market reach we have discussed. I need more than those. I need more than this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Madhu.
Can we actually relate vertical integration with synergy somehow?
Yeah, give me
Because
example. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
so it's not.
Yes.
I don't think it's a right example, but let's just say if Reliance Group acquires Future Group or buys Future Group or whatever transaction happens, then in that case they already have presence in the retail market, and by doing so they would be actually increasing their distribution throughout the market.
Yeah, correct. It's a right example. So no need to hesitate. Yeah, in fact, and I think next couple of slides you will see we'll discuss about vertical integration as well. So yes, this is right example.
Okay.
So this example that you gave, I can put into category called a distribution network. You have a synergy in a distribution network. So for example, let me give you another example. For example, today let's assume Patanjali. Patanjali already has a big distribution network. If they acquire any other company or any other FMCG product, they don't need to build that the new distribution network. They already existing distribution networks will take care of the new product as well.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
So,
right. Yeah. Any other example, guys?
Sir, GSK has combined with Sanofi to develop COVID vaccine. So it could be for development of a new patent.
हाँ, but इसमें synergy क्या हुआ?
Synergies में ये हुआ कि they will have their own niche in the market that nobody would have.
Synergy तो ना हुआ, तो competitive advantage हुआ. Synergy is by coming together they are able to save. Synergy is by coming together they are able to save something. They are able to get something which जो individually वो लोग को ज़्यादा खर्चा करना पड़ता है, ज़्यादा time लगाना पड़ता है.
So by combining the research and R&D of both the companies, these they will be able to find some solution to the COVID vaccine, and they will have something new which they won't be able to do it individually.
कह सकते हो, but not very convinced, because see, in a COVID, for a vaccine of the COVID, it's not necessary that
It could be
even if two companies come together, they are able to find out, correct, the vaccine.
Yes.
So it seems to be more theoretical, because it's not about that if two companies come together, they would be able to definitely, if it is like this, that because one company cannot do this, but if the second company comes, they will be definitely be able to come out with a vaccine, then of course I would have taken that example very easily. But still, there is same probability that they still might not be able to come out with a vaccine.
Okay.
Yeah, any other example, guys?
Sir,
yeah.
So can we include tax benefit after merger, what the company will be getting?
Sorry, Anjani, your network seems to be bad. Can you repeat your example?
Hello. Yes, sir. Tax implication, benefit of tax implications, what both the company will be getting after merger.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Any other example?
So it can be like Oyo with the SoftBank. So with that, there is a staff reduction in the company. It can be. I'm not very much sure for that.
Sorry, could you repeat your example?
Yeah, like Oyo with the SoftBank, right? They have they tied up with the SoftBank because Oyo is not in a very good condition right now. So I think they tied up with the SoftBank so that they can get the bag, and with that they have a staff reductions in the company.
Okay. So this is very
It
similar to
can
the
be.
example that we discussed.
Sir?
Right?
Yeah, sure. And sir, there is one more example, where PNG acquires the Gillette, or it can be like with the economies of scale, so that they increase the growth. Can be. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So Jio acquired, Den, Hathaway, Sawan for its for its platforms. So that could be a probable example of synergy, because by that they are able to get into this competitive. They get into competition with Wink and all the Ghana.com rap something.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, बिना पढ़े मतलब बिना without knowing what are different type of synergy effects, or over here there are listed down 5 different examples. So you want us to come out with 6th, 7th, 8th, and so on and so forth. So sir, without without like बिना पढ़े या बिना without knowledge, how can we develop, or you can say identify what are other factors?
No, so I'm not sure when you say bina pade, what does that mean? Because we've discussed what is synergy. We have discussed 6, 7 examples or sources of synergy. So when I gave you the task, the intent was that if you've understood the concept of synergy, and we've discussed 6, 7 sources and examples of, can you think of other examples, or can you go through, can you come out with the examples that you've seen in recent transactions or what you've read in newspapers, and you're able to correlate with, okay, this could be a synergy example. For example,
I haven't.
the example that Sahil gave of Reliance acquiring some of these broadband companies, Hathaway and stuff like this. So these are again basis what probably he would have read earlier, correct? And now he's able to correlate, okay, वो मैंने पढ़ा था वहाँ पे, ठीक है? And now I have understood the concept of synergy and I've seen the other examples. Hence, this can be correlated to this. That's the way you have to understand, correct? And that's the skill set I want you to absorb, because ऐसे तो practically impossible हो जाएगा, correct? So even if it means, even if you read 20 examples and in an interview you get a 21st example, you will find it difficult to give that answer, correct?
Okay, so over here, you know, if the 21st example doesn't fit into these 5 synergy sources, so does that mean it could be a sixth one as well, or 7th, or ऐसा भी हो सकता है?
No, I didn't understand that piece. What does that mean?
Okay, sir. So only these 5 sources of synergies, you know, only these are the only examples of sources of synergy, or there can be a 6th or a 7th one?
They are. I told you, no, this is not exhaustively. These are some of the sample examples that I've mentioned on this. So, for example, I think it was Anjani or someone who gave an example of distribution network, correct? Future Group and Reliance. So that was a distribution network example, which is not mentioned on this slide.
Okay.
So this is not exhaustive list. There are many other examples which are very much possible.
Like, for example, when Flipkart acquired Myntra and Jabong, they were significantly able to improve their market reach within the industry and capture further market share as well.
Okay, Akshay, I think that comes under improved market reach and industry visibility, sir. So
right.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Bhavesh.
So there's this media synergy also, like Disney and Hotstar. I think that was Ashish's question.
Yeah, it is, and it is more about. It's more about, to me, is this last point.
I have a question here, Nishant.
Akshay, hold on.
Yeah.
So Akshay, before I take that, so whoever said about those example of Hotstar and Disney, so Disney being much more international, recognized brand vis-a-vis Hotstar, and that's the reason why it gives them both the comfort, correct? Because Hotstar get more visibility because of Disney being associated with this. Vis-a-vis the Disney gets an ability of not creating or not spending those money and technology which Hotstar has already been built in Indian markets, and that's the reason why both of these get the synergy effects. Yeah, Akshay, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is the effect of synergies felt more in mergers vis-a-vis acquisitions, or does that have no relation?
Yes, you're right. Majorly, you will see more impact in the merger. Because in merger both are willing, correct? So the reason why, so suppose if you have your company, I have my company, and we both are willing to work with each other, what does this mean? This means even before we have got together, we have recognized that there is a synergy effect, and that's why we are heading towards each other to work together.
Right.
Because we both are convinced कि हम दोनों को advantage है to work with each other. So I believe I will get advantage if I work with Akshay. You believe you will get an advantage if you work with me. And that's the reason both, when come together, the probability of having a synergy effect is more, because we are anyways at the beginning. In fact, before we started off, we were very clear that yes, we will get an advantage. But in an acquisition, especially if it's in a hostile acquisition, I want to work with you, but you don't want to work with me because you believe this is not going to be good for you, which means the one party is anyways negative from the start.
Right.
Hence, the probability or the impact or probably that it might take more time to show the impact of the synergy in case it has.
So can synergy be between two countries also?
Yeah, they are, but
Okay.
but we're not looking, because what happens with those synergy between economies happens at a trade relationship level.
Okay.
So to answer your question, yes, you can have, but because we're not discussing economies here, we're discussing companies, hence that's not immediately related to our topic. But yes, when we do economic research and analysis, of course, especially into trade relationships, there are synergies between two economies.
Okay, sir.
So one more.
Yeah, Kansha, good.
Hello.
Yeah, Kansha.
So I was asking if there is any efficiency of scales of energy, or is it related to economies of scale only?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Actually, I was asking, is there any efficiencies of scale of energy synergy, or is it something that comes under economies of scale only?
It's a part of economies of scale only, because if you will have efficiency, that efficiency, if is positive for the company, results in economies of scale only, no?
So I was just wanted to know also about the merger of the Future Group, or is it the acquiring of Future Group by Reliance? So what synergy they would come under?
So we discussed this, correct? This will come into distribution network. This will come into market reach. This will come in the industry visibility as well.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any questions on synergy? Any queries before we close? Okay. No. Okay. So are we good to close the synergy concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cool. Now moving further. So yeah. Now in terms of types of an M&A, so broadly there are three categories under which we can club this. You have horizontal integration on M&As, then you have vertical M&As, and you have conglomerate. The horizontal is mm, so for example, Maruti acquiring Honda. So yeah, Maruti acquiring Honda is a horizontal acquisition, because both Maruti and Honda in India are into very similar segments into car segment into Indian passenger car segment into Indian markets. And what do you mean horizontal acquisitions or mergers? Horizontal acquisition means when two companies who belong to the same business segment, same product line, and when they merge or acquire, then it is called as horizontal M&A. Is this clear? Any doubt in horizontal? Guys, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Vertical is so for example, if Maruti acquire MRF, currently MRF is a supplier to the Maruti, is a supplier of a raw material to Maruti. So in a supply chain, Maruti is a customer for MRF and MRF is a supplier to Maruti. If Maruti acquire its supplier, and in a supply chain, it's going one step back. So that's called as vertical integration, and this type of a vertical integration is called as backward integration. Backward integration is where you're moving one step back into the supply chain. So Maruti acquiring raw MRF is a backward integration. MRF acquiring Maruti is a forward integration. Both are vertical integrations. Any doubt in this?
So can you explain why is it backward? As in, is it because it's taking over something that it is not Maruti is not producing, or it's and it's of no use?
No, it's not about that. It's about backward means currently Maruti purchases tires from MRF and uses that product in producing a finished product in form of a car. So currently MRF is a supplier to Maruti. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So now, if Maruti acquires MRF, what does it mean? In a supply chain, rather than moving forward, Maruti is taking a step backward, which means earlier they used to buy tires from somebody. Now they will not buy tires from somebody. They have acquired that company. Hence, Maruti itself will start producing tires along with the cars. Hence, they're moving one step backward as well in the supply chain. Hence, this is called as backward integration.
Okay, sir.
Similarly, if the MRF acquires Maruti, it will become a forward integration because MRF currently Maruti is a customer of MRF. If MRF is acquiring its own customer, then they are moving one step forward in the supply chain. Hence, forward integration. Any doubts in this, vertical or horizontal? I'm deliberately giving you same examples into auto sector so that you can correlate and understand the difference much better. In addition to the examples that are anyways mentioned on the slide, so I'm not repeating those examples. You anyways can see I'm giving more examples so that you have more examples in a kitty to understand and practice these concepts. Yeah, somebody is asking something.
Sir,
Right?
yes,
Sir, I have a
sir,
question.
ये
Go ahead, Anjani.
हाँ सर सर जो आपने बताया फॉरवर्ड एंड बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेशन ये हॉरिजॉन्टल के लिए भी एप्लीकेबल होगा ना?
नहीं, हॉरिजॉन्टल में बैकवर्ड और फॉरवर्ड नहीं होगा ना, क्योंकि हॉरिजॉन्टल में मारुति इज नॉट मूविंग स्टेप बैक और फॉरवर्ड. मारुति रिमेन्स वेयर इट इज. सो मारुति कार मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहा है, वो होंडा को एक्वायर करता है, होंडा भी कार मैन्युफैक्चरर है. सो इट इज नॉट मूविंग वन स्टेप बैक और फॉरवर्ड. It remains at the same step. It remains at the same point in the supply chain. But when Maruti acquires MRF, earlier they were not manufacturing tire, they were only manufacturing car. After this merger, they will also start manufacturing tire. That is the difference.
Okay, sir.
Yes, I.
So in my example, Jio acquiring these companies, Savan and Den and Hathway, is it a horizontal acquisition or vertical?
आप बताओ.
I think when Jio launched, it was itself a telephone company, so acquiring other, it could be a vertical. I'm
Vertical
not
कैसे
sure,
होगा? Same segments में तो हैं. Why? How
but
it will be vertical?
जब तक जियो ने सावन को acquire नहीं किया था, that was not in music streaming platform. Jio didn't have its music streaming platform.
तो फिर उस लॉजिक से तो कॉन्ग्लोमरेट होना चाहिए.
मतलब
What's
Reliance is a
conglomerate?
conglomerate. Reliance is a conglomerate, but if we talk about Jio and other companies, so they are vertical acquisitions or horizontal. इसमें थोड़ा confusion है.
So my understanding, this is not vertical. Most of these will fall into horizontal, and couple of them will fall into conglomerate, but not into vertical.
Okay.
So the example
Horizontal.
of Savan that the Savan example that you gave is a conglomerate because they were never into music streaming, correct? It's a
Yes,
new,
sure.
altogether new product line that they're starting off. That's called as conglomerate. Horizontal is, so if for example Geo was already into kind of an internet connections and mobile data and fiber network, Hathway already has presence into those, so it's the same segment, correct?
But
The
Hathway
difference is
provides,
the Hathway is more.
Wi-Fi, more of Wi-Fi and that stuff. And Jio was launched as a telephonic, provider.
अरे आप सिर्फ एक प्रोडक्ट यूनिट देख रहे हो ना, बट इट्स द सेम द कम्युनिकेशन नेटवर्क, करेक्ट? विद दैट लॉजिक अब आप कहोगे मारुति तो ये वाली कार्स बनाता है, होंडा दूसरी कार्स बनाता है, दैट्स नॉट वी आर लुकिंग एट स्पेसिफिक सेगमेंट, बट स्टिल बोथ आर प्रोड्यूसिंग कार्स. The same logic, both Jio and Hathway were on the segments of mobile data and internet, correct? So even if you are doing it, yeah, go ahead.
Similarly, जब बालाजी टेलीफिल्म्स में स्टेक acquire किया था, तो prior to that they didn't have their Jio movies,
हाँ, so conglomerate होगा ना.
सर ये conglomerate कैसे होगा? मतलब अभी मतलब उन्होंने बालाजी में स्टेक खरीदा है, तभी तो उन्होंने Jio TV लेके आए, अदरवाइज वो नहीं लेके आ पाते.
क्या होता है conglomerate?
Sir, I
Conglomerate
think
में unrelated companies को मतलब acquisition करना, मतलब not directly in the line of business.
Correct. So suppose that, let me first explain conglomerate for the benefit of others, then I will come back to this. So conglomerate, the third category is conglomerate. Conglomerate example would be if
Reliance and
Maruti acquires,
Reliance
if Maruti,
acquired him,
अरे मुझे
toy maker.
complete तो करने दे साहिल यार.
अच्छा.
I will take your question, but let me first complete, correct? So that at least others can understand. I will take your question and I will answer to your satisfaction, but that does not mean you take away the opportunity from others to understand a concept which probably you might know. So conglomerate means where a company is acquiring another company and then another company is into completely into different domain. So for example, Maruti is into car manufacturing segments, DLF is into real estate. Hypothetically, just for the sake of this discussion, if Maruti acquires DLF or a stake in DLF, that's conglomerate, correct? It's not horizontal. Horizontal होता है same business में, so they're not in the same business. Vertical होता है supply chain में आगे या पीछे, so DLF and auto sectors are completely unrelated. Hence, the third category becomes conglomerate. Any doubt in conglomerate before I take Sahil's question? Any doubt in conglomerate?
sir, I'm so sorry, but थोड़ा सा ना confusion हो गया sir. Can you please explain once again?
So you're clear with the horizontal, vertical, correct, Bhavesh?
Sir, I have a question on vertical as well.
Go ahead.
Sir, for MRF ने टायर के साथ गाड़ी बनानी शुरू कर दी. That will be a forward approach for MRF. सर मारुति के लिए फॉरवर्ड अप्रोच क्या होगा? मारुति के लिए होंडा एक्वायर करना इज अ हॉरिजॉन्टल अप्रोच दैट कम्स इनटू, बट मारुति के लिए क्या कल को वो एयरबस या बोइंग बनाना स्टार्ट कर देगा, दैट विल बी अ फॉरवर्ड अप्रोच? मतलब क्या होगा उसके लिए फॉरवर्ड?
No. If Maruti starts producing Airbus or Boeing, that will not be a forward integration for Maruti.
ठीक है सर, वो किसी और कैटेगरी में फॉल करेगा, बट कैन यू गिव एनी एग्जांपल कि फॉरवर्ड वाला क्या होगा मारुति के लिए, या ऐसा कुछ?
Correct. Forward integration for Maruti would be if Maruti opens its own bank and start giving loans to the customers who comes to the Maruti showroom for buying a car. Because currently,
rather than going HDFC,
currently Maruti has to go to SDFC कि भैया मेरे कस्टमर को लोन दे दो.
ठीक है सर, ठीक है, हाँ.
So rather than going to SDFC, वो खुद ही बिजनेस स्टार्ट करते, that becomes a forward integration. Producing Boeing or aircrafts like those is completely different segment, correct? It's not vertical integration.
नहीं सर, मुझे लगा वो जैसे टायर से गाड़ी पे आया, वो शायद गाड़ी से एयरप्लेन्स पे आ जाएगा, तो मेरे को लगा दैट विल बी शायद फॉरवर्ड.
नहीं.
पर ठीक है, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड.
If they start financing, that will become, or the other example of Maruti could be forward integration could be, suppose they open their own so suppose today what happens when you buy a new car, you go to another accessory shop, correct, and you ask those people to put more accessories into your car if you want to invest more. So let's assume if Maruti opens a shop under Maruti brand of those accessories, then again is an example of forward integration. They have some, but इतनी ज़्यादा varieties नहीं होती accessories की जितनी हमको open market में मिल जाती है.
सर आई थिंक बैंक वाला एग्जांपल जो है ना, वो बहुत अच्छा फिट हो रहा है यहाँ पे.
जोन सा आपको लेना है आप ले लो, but both will fall into in forward integration.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू.
Okay. साहिल क्वेश्चन पूछो अपना.
क्वेश्चन ये है कि you were asking about example of conglomerate. So I was telling you Reliance buying 100% stake in Hamleys International, that would be a conglomerate acquisition, because Hamleys in making a business of making toys and Reliance in everything, so that would be a conglomerate acquisition. But Reliance buying companies like then Hathaway and buying stake in Balaji Delivering and other company related to entertainment industry or mobile streaming, so that would be a vertical acquisition.
So let's take your second example first. So Reliance or Jio taking some stake in Balaji Films. Was Reliance or Jio was into what was there? Were they before taking stake in Balaji? Was Jio into the film production?
No.
No. So what does this mean? By taking a stake in Balaji Films, is this a new business line to them, or it's a existing business line में plus or minus?
Yes.
So new business line is a conglomerate, correct?
अच्छा.
So that's why it will fall into conglomerate. Okay. Anybody else, any other doubt on these three: horizontal, vertical, conglomerate, and within vertical you have two, backward and forward? Nice. Any doubt, any questions on that?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sir, real life example horizontal acquisition का?
Sorry?
Any
horizontal.
example of acquisition, a real life example?
We discussed, right?
Bank of
Tata Steel
Baroda.
Chorus, Tata Steel Chorus, मारुति सुजुकी, बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा, विजया बैंक जो कल हमने डिस्कस किया था, आईसीआईसीआई बैंक, बैंक ऑफ मदुरा, ये सब हॉरिजॉन्टल के रियल एग्जांपल्स है ना. वोडाफोन
Okay.
आइडिया, ये सब हॉरिजॉन्टल एग्जांपल्स तो है.
And vertical?
वर्टिकल वुड बी जैसे रिलायंस और फ्यूचर ग्रुप की हम बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. The joint venture with this Big Bazaar and Amazon,
Okay.
ठीक है, ये इतना फ्लरिश नहीं हुआ, ठीक है. Disney and Hotstar. Disney is a production house. It produces the
Yes.
movies. Hotstar is
Streaming
more
partner.
on the distribution side.
Okay.
So Hotstar and Disney is nothing but a vertical integration, na?
Okay. Hotstar and Disney. Okay.
हाँ जी, any other doubt? हाँ जी. Any doubt on this? Are we good to close this piece, please?
No doubts from my
No
end.
doubt, sir.
Anything else? Any other query, concern?
No doubt.
Okay. So moving ahead, ये सब मैंने आपको बता दिया. So control premium and valuation we'll discuss in level 2 when we'll discuss valuation. Okay. This is very similar to the question that I think Sahil was asking about the calculation of synergy from NPV to control premium. As I said earlier, the entire valuation computation and calculation and approach we'll discuss in level 2. Okay, it's a much bigger concept rather than showing one slide to you. ठीक है, ये सब M&A के numbers हैं, पुराने M&A examples हैं, Tata Chorus as I told you case studies. So if you're interested in reading through this, you can read through this. ठीक है. Any doubt before I move to the next segment, which is private equity? Virender was from M&A.
Sir, can you just summarize or paraphrase whatever we have discussed so far in this class, like sources of synergy and
So what we discussed yesterday, we discussed about what is merger, what is acquisition, and then we discussed between acquisition. In the acquisition, you have two types: hostile acquisition and normal acquisition. And then we yesterday also discussed what is joint venture, and then we discussed how the joint venture is different from merger, and we discuss examples of each of these. That's what we discussed yesterday. And today we've discussed the sources of synergy. What are the different sources of? Sorry, we first started off what is the meaning of synergy. And then we discussed the different sources of synergy, the examples of synergies, and then we discussed the different types of M&A: horizontal, vertical, within vertical, backward and forward, and conglomerate, and the examples of each of these. That's what we discussed.
ठीक है sir. good to proceed. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, sir.
Sir, organic or inorganic growth will be covered in after M&A or in valuation type?
I can cover now also. That's not a problem. Ideally, I cover into M&A, sorry, into valuation, but अब आप पूछ रहे हो
That's
तो
okay if
मैं
you cover there. That's
ठीक
okay
है,
if you.
कोई problem नहीं है. So, what do you mean by organic and inorganic growth? Organic and inorganic growth means organic growth means when you grow within. When you grow within. So, for example, ICICI Bank has 10 branches. Slowly, they move from 10 branches to 11 branches. And then they move from 11 to 12 branches, 12 to 13, 14, 15. They're growing internally, slowly, step by step, and increasing the business. That's called as organic growth. You're growing organically. If ICICI Bank has
Growth.
10, sorry?
Organic means growth which is driven by volume and prices. That's what I remember.
No, not necessary. Not necessary that it has to be driven by what it has to be driven by volume and prices. It may be without volume and prices as well. But organic growth means you're growing internally without acquiring or getting merger with somebody else. And organic growth is if ICICI Bank has 10 branches and let's assume Bank of Madurai has 5 branches, ICICI Bank acquires Bank of Madurai, and then because of this acquisition or because of this merger, the total new branch size for the ICICI Bank becomes 15. That increase from 10 to 5 is an inorganic growth. So that's the difference in organic and inorganic growth. Any doubt, Sahil or anybody else on organic and inorganic, maybe doubt of the future. So Vodafone acquiring Hutch in India, that was inorganic growth for Vodafone from Indian market perspective. Netflix, Hotstar, Amazon Prime, due to this COVID and entire pandemic and lockdown situation and stuff like this, they've shown a significant increase in their revenues in last 3.5 months.
Which is like inorganic in growth.
No, that's an organic growth, Sahil. So
because they are generating revenue from their own, selling more subscriptions.
So that's organic, correct? Why inorganic?
Okay.
So their number of customers have significantly gone up. The revenues have gone up. Okay. All these internet service providers again have recorded again significant jump in their profits and revenue for last 3-4 months. So all these are examples of organic growth. Is everybody clear with organic and inorganic, guys? Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Sir, I was just asking कि ये inorganic growth जो बोल रहे हैं ये merger acquisition हर एक merger and acquisition पे applicable होगा, means every merger and acquisition or acquisition is inorganic growth. Hello.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, sir.
So there's this question of somebody that what is due diligence? I think Yash is asking this question.
Sorry, what is?
So what is due diligence?
Due diligence. So due diligence is a kind of in checking that you do. So for example, you go to a shop. Let's say there's no lockdown and know this pandemic or current environment is a pretty normal scenario before what used to be in Feb and Jan in India. So you go to a shop and you want to buy something for yourself. So for example, you want to buy a shirt for yourself. Uh, how do you go about it? You select a shirt, you go to a trial room, you check the size and fittings of that shirt, and then finally before buying that shirt, you do your checks and balances. Okay, is the shirt right? कहीं पे कुछ problem तो नहीं है? Is everything okay or not? Correct? And then finally you decide, okay, let me buy this. Is that not due diligence? Are you not doing those checks and balances or whatever gives you a comfort? Those whatever whatever checks that you can and you wanted to do before you take that call. Okay, you're convinced to buy this and you're happy to buy this. Those are called as due diligences. Similarly, if you decide, probably you decide to buy a mobile for yourself, and before you decide and shortlist, finalize a brand for yourself, you will read about the reviews, you will speak to the people who are using those mobile phone, and then finally you make up your mind. All those are part of nothing but due diligence. Due diligence means checking. I don't know whoever asked this question, what context that's being asked, but due diligence means it's a form of checking. In a financial world, again, when company A is acquiring company B, it's same process, correct? Company A will not acquire company B without checking certain things. So again, when company A is checking something before buying out the company B, that same process or same checking process is called as due diligence. Hello?
There's this further question. What are the parameters for the same?
See, parameters will vary depending upon situation, depending upon the size of the transaction, depending upon the nature of the transaction. So, for example, when you want to buy a shirt for yourself, vis-a-vis you want to buy a mobile phone for yourself, vis-a-vis you want to buy a property for yourself, vis-a-vis you want to buy a car for yourself, vis-a-vis you want to buy a jewelry for yourself, vis-a-vis you want to join an online program like this, vis-a-vis you want to join a MBA program, all will require some checks, but your parameters of checks will be far different in each of the transactions, correct? So for example, when you're buying a property, your main concern would be whether that property is legally is a legal property or not. You should not land up in buying a property which turns out to be legal property. So your parameters would be more driven towards the legal authenticity of the property. Okay. Whereas suppose if you're joining an MBA program, your parameters or of would be more of would be what kind of faculties come there, do they have ability to bring those corporate people to take their sessions, what about the campus placement and stuff like this, correct? So the parameters will vary depending upon the transactions, depending on the nature of the transaction. Similarly, in an M&A transaction, the parameters will be different. In a joint venture, the parameters of due diligence will be discussed. ये है सब आगे. All this due diligence, buy side, sell side, everything is being lined up later. I'm not sure who is asking this and in what context and why now. But this due diligence process, parameters, all this is being lined up later.
Okay, sir, they've understood.
Anything else? Okay. Now, yeah, so discuss about organic and inorganic growth. So organic growth, which means you will grow internally, will require a lot of time and resources, correct? It's just a time-taking process. So for example, the example that I gave you, ICICI Bank moving from 10 branch to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 14, 14 to 18, and so on. It will take time. It's a slow process. Now, but so inorganic is about M&A, but whether you go for an organic or whether you go for inorganic, both will require financing. You need money, correct? Both the sources, both the options, both the categories of the growth will require financing. And the financing can come from two categories. One is equity, another is debt. And we discussed this in the last class, correct? Not last class. What is equity, what is debt, correct? And then equity can come from two sources. One is private equity or one is public equity. So public equity and one is private equity. Private equity is what we'll discuss probably today or in next session. But we discussed about public equity in the last few sessions, and public equity is further broken down into IPO and FPO. Correct, guys? Is this clear? Is this diagram clear? The only thing which is left is this piece, private equity. Only this piece, private equity, the one which is highlighted in yellow. So any doubt in this slide in terms of this a chart or a flow chart which is given in this?
Sir, I have a doubt related to this concept.
Yeah, Bulu.
So for take example of an exporter, so he books his revenue in USD, and the price of the USD rises. So increase in revenue because of the FX foreign exchange fluctuation is also inorganic growth.
No, that's an FX growth.
So it comes under organic.
No, it's a third category of growth which is called an FX growth.
Okay.
And why it is called as third category? Because technically it's not a growth. It's just accounting numbers that you're playing with. You're just playing with the numbers. Technically, you have not grown up. Okay. Now, so what is private equity? So let's come to the private equity. Let me give you some startup tips and then we can kick this in the next class. But before I let you go, so
Sir, I have a small request, please.
yeah, go ahead.
Sir, please complete the topic first and then take the questions so that things will not mix up. And
No, I didn't understand. You say
sir, अब जैसे
Hmm.
sir जैसे अब we were discussing about some topic and something which has to be taken up by you in future, and then somebody asked the question in between, so sir वो completely things go off, जो समझ में आ रहा होता वो भी नहीं आता था.
ठीक है, so I have not seen much in this batch. I know a couple of instances where a couple of people have, but अगर मुझे लगेगा कि हाँ बहुत ज़्यादा I think जैसे मैंने साहिल को आज बोला तो उसके बाद he being understood this. So I don't see to be an issue, Bhavesh, at least as of now. The reason why I would prefer to have this because उससे मेरा load कम होता है. Like every time I need to create the momentum. But I think what I do not want to discourage is your thought process and try to understand this. So, for example, if I'm explaining a concept and in that process you have some queries, if I ask you, okay, only ask those queries at the end, I might take 10 minutes to complete the topic, and by that end of the 10 minutes, some of your thoughts might go away. I'm fine with your approach. I'm more than comfortable to adopt to this approach कि आप end में पूछना. The end could be 1 hour, end could be 50 minutes, end could be 20 minutes, end could be 2 minutes as well. But my experience is generally students के जो thoughts होते हैं वो evaporate हो जाएंगे because you will not be able to hold for next 20 minutes or 30 minutes. इसलिए I do not want it to be very strict on this कि नहीं जब मेरा खत्म हो जाएगा तभी आप पूछो. हाँ, there will be scenarios where I will ask you to probably hold your questions, which I think manageable है.
Yes, sir. Cool.
Okay. So I understand. I think you're highlighting for a couple of instances, George, where a couple of people have interrupted during. वो ठीक है उतना तो अगर मुझे लगेगा somebody who's not understanding the way questions should be asked, then I will probably be more strict with those people. वैसे रखते हैं अभी. I don't want to make your thought process very constrained with this strict rules कि हाँ नहीं पूछना नहीं है, तो उतना मत करो. Let it be free flowing. हाँ सब. But Bhavesh, before I start off with private equity, anything in the previous where you have missed and because of the this problem that you mentioned raised by a couple of people, कुछ ऐसा है जो आपका miss हुआ where I need to cover up again? More than happy to do that if something which.
No, sir, that's okay.
Okay. So private equity, what do you mean private equity? Private equity means when we are offering the shares to limited set of investors privately. Then this is called as private equity. It's not offering of shares to the public. It's not. Which means company can decide who will be allowed to invest. In public offer, company cannot say no to someone who meets the criteria, who meets the applicant or eligibility criteria. Okay. So is the private equity clear to you? I'm not trying to get into too much of details because ये complete नहीं हो पाएगा आज, but just want to leave the thought and probably will take this Vinay's class. But I know some of you mentioned yesterday not to stretch. I know yesterday we did stretch, but I will avoid doing this today. But again, of course, as I said earlier, we'll slowly and see how do I take this forward. But just try and focus on these couple of these sections which are highlighted in red. And any questions on this before we close? Guys.
So is being long-term investment not the criteria in private equity?
No.
A private equity holder can dispose of its stake in just very liquidly as we do in day trading.
Theoretically, yes. Practically, no. We come to that. So there is no
So
restriction for.
they can dispose their stake at
They
any time.
can stake. They can. Theoretically and legally, there is no restriction from a law perspective. But practically, the market, because of some other reason, doesn't allow them to facilitate this, or doesn't facilitate this so easily the way the market facilitate this for a or a public equity. How this happens, we'll probably see that in the next class.
Hmm.
So there's this question. In private equity, it might be some shares with the promoters.
Yeah. So the promoter might have some shares, which promoter decides to sell it to somebody else, and that somebody else is defined. It's not anybody. So, for example, if I'm the promoter of the company, I decide, okay, let me sell my 10 shares to Anjani. So that becomes private equity. Which means if Akansha wants to apply, Yash wants to apply, Bhavesh wants to apply, Sahil wants to apply, they can't, because it's not for anybody. It's only for Anjani. That's called as private equity, where the offer is only to a selected investor, not for others. But public equity means I say, okay, I come in the class and say, I'm offering the shares of the company. Whoever is interested and has the PAN card and is Indian citizen can apply. So anybody can apply. That's the difference in public equity and public offer and private equity.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Any doubt? Any doubt on this? Any doubt on this? No, sir. Okay. Okay. We'll keep till this piece today, and then we'll continue in the next class. Okay. Thanks. Bye.